Hi, welcome back. It's time to do it. Time to, we get to start chapter 2 today. Let's see what we're looking at here. Chapter 2. I got my handy dandy bookmarker and it's almost ready. Here we go. Chapter 2, Day 1. Here comes the adventure. Paul calls out anxiously, "Here she comes!" He has been watching for Ella. He steadies his camcorder as she appears at the head of the grand stairway. She is dressed in an African safari outfit. It has a lightweight, long-sleeved khaki jacket with several pockets. It's worn over a pink t-shirt. The khaki pants go clear to her ankle and almost cover the black patent leather boots she is wearing. She looks like she's headed out for a safari. Well, almost. She's only carrying the safari hat and wearing her favorite boots. Classic glamour girl style boots. She pauses to pose in her regal way when she sees the camera. The drama queen style of hers, what a show-off. Ella then proceeds slowly down the stairway with an aristocratic air about her. Her hand moves smoothly on the banister of the stairway as she descends. The stairway has a beautiful hand-carved dark oak banister with ornate white oak slats. It curves up from the bottom. There's no landing halfway down. It is one finely engineered stairway that seems to float down from the above and ends within 15 feet of the large oak doors. Paul stands. He was seated on the antique settee as he eagerly says, "Good morning," to Ella. The others are quickly coming from the kitchen to meet her. Thomas appears first. Ella blurts out angrily to him, "Why didn't you wake me up? It was supposed to have been a dawn patrol." Thomas shrugs his shoulders, leans against the pillar of the ornate oak archway that leads into the dining room as he sarcastically says, "Oh, you know Uncle Charles' rule. It's only morally wrong when you sleep in on a school or a work day." Ella is only a little way down the stairs by now and lets out a frustrated sigh as she stops and says, "Perhaps you want to sleep away your adventure day. That is for you to choose. You will miss out on the best part of the day. Just remember, you'll pay the consequences of your actions." She looks at Thomas and haughtily says, "Did I remember it correctly?" Bruce and Maria arrive from the kitchen just in time to hear Thomas's response to Ella's challenging words. He disgustedly shakes his head as he says, "You should know it. You heard it enough times." Then he moves away by the large entry doors. Ralph, who has been standing by the front door, carefully moves away. He is trying to maintain space between Thomas and the camera. Ralph chooses to stand over near the living room to the left of the stairs. The front entry double doors are huge, hand-carved oak doors with brass handles and cut glass windows with floral inlays so the sunlight can filter into the foyer. Ella ignores Thomas's remark as she continues coming down the stairs with a saunter and spits out, "Don't expect me to wear this ungodly heavy hat." Then flinging her long hair, blonde Hollywood hair, it's done up in Farrah Fawcett style, she says, "It ruins my hair." Then, looking at Thomas, she condescendingly says, "Where did you get that Roy Rogers outfit? You look silly." Thomas, enjoying the moment to irritate Ella, play acts and parades around the antique circular green velvet settee in the foyer. He is skipping around as though he were on a stick horse and waving his cowboy hat in the air as he says, "Same place you got your silly outfit. Uncle Charles put it in your closet too, right?" Ralph is loving this little boy-like attitude of Thomas playing around and just keeps the camera rolling. Ella reluctantly sighs. "Right, you silly boy. This outfit is not my choice. Well, except to honor Uncle Charlie. I will wear this horrible outfit that he asked me to wear for this." Oh, she sighs heavily and dramatically says, "adventure." Then she pouts and says, "I told you so. This is his last home movie with us, for us, or well, whatever it is." Thomas, who has been galloping around the whole time, stops in his tracks and gets serious. He thoughtfully replies, "That's true. That's what my note said too." Then, putting the hat back on his head, he leans against one of the large oak doors and acknowledges, "It's amazing to me. Uncle Charles remembered how much I loved those Roy Rogers movies." Thomas smiles a little boy smile. Ella, descending more rapidly than before, eagerly agrees, "He remembered how much I loved the Tarzan and Jane movies." Thomas speaks out boldly, "Hey, those aren't safari boots. Look, I'm wearing my Roy Rogers cowboy boots." And he leans into the door and sticks his foot up in the air as high as he can for Ella to be sure to see. Ella leans on the ornate railing very dramatically, placing the back of her hand on her forehead as she says, "Oh, those awful boots he chose for me. They are too heavy for my delicate little limbs." Bruce looks at Maria, and she nods in complete understanding of what is needed, and scurries to Charles' bedroom. Ella continues moving down the stairs, whining like a little girl as she says, "And those socks, they're thick, too heavy, and an ugly gray. I don't like them. My comfortable boots will do me just fine for this little hike." Angrily, to her non-compliance, Thomas spits back, "You always have an excuse to do things your way." Ella ignores him and continues her saunter down the stairs. As Ella gets near the bottom of the stairs, Bruce steps toward the stairway and confronts her. As he says, "Only for health, safety, and morals will I interfere with your decision about the hat and..." Ella gasps, "Oh no!" She stops cold in her tracks. She is stunned as she says, "You're quoting Uncle Charles. Oh, what's so wrong with not wearing that hat?" She sighs as she leans up against the banister again. Thomas grudgingly blurts out, "Yeah, that's something you would never understand." Bruce braces himself for the rebuttal and begins. "Number one, your Uncle Charles thought that hat would be the best protection from the summer heat and possible falling branches as we are hiking through the forested areas." Ella turns away from him, pouting and looking out toward the living room. She gets a wee bit frustrated as she responds, "Oh, give me a break. We're not in danger here." Bruce steps toward her and, with authority in his voice, continues, "Actually, we are. The sun can get deceptively dangerous up here in these high mountains and can cause heat stroke when you're not properly dressed." Thomas jumps in, agreeing with Bruce, and says, "You should know that, Ella. You're just stuck in wanting to do things your own way." Just then, Maria hands Bruce a large package wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine, and she whispers to him, "I think it's time for this." Bruce takes the package. He steps toward Ella, who has finally reached the foot of the stairway, and handing the package to her, He informs her, "This is for you from your Uncle Charlie. Please, open it now." Ella grudgingly takes the package by the heavy twine and goes into the living room, which is just to the left of the stairway. Paul is placing himself as quickly as he can to get in the same room. Ella crosses the room with his plush chocolate brown area rug. Ella sits on the large, luxurious green velvet couch and opens the package rather quickly, then exclaims in astonishment, "A hat?" Maria quickly moves over to stand by Bruce at the brown leather divan and speaks up, "Not just a hat, it's a Queen Elizabeth hat." Paul is having fun keeping his camera on Ella during this event and has moved across the room from the green couch. He stands by the back side of the foot of the stairs to get the best angle for Ella's reactions and comments. Ralph is doing just as well keeping up with Thomas, and he is standing by the window near the large fireplace, capturing Thomas's reactions to his sister's dilemma. Thomas is loving this, and he seats himself in Uncle Charles' favorite swivel recliner. It's near the fireplace. He turns the chair toward Ella, and trying not to laugh, he sarcastically says, well, I'll be darned. Uncle Charles knew you wouldn't wear that safari hat, even though it is the best choice. Maria is filled with compassion and lets Ella know, actually, Charlie ordered this for you for last Christmas. When you didn't come, he said to keep it. You might need it for this trek. Ella's eyes well up with tears, her jaws set tight. She's trying not to cry as she fondles the silk flowers on the hat. The hat is a beautiful sea green wool felt with large aqua silk braided ribbon headband. It has dainty white silk flowers trimming out the left side of the brim. That's about 4 inches wide. It's casual and slightly floppy. Bruce, with his foreman voice, reminds Ella, so, now you have a choice of protection from the sun, the Queen Elizabeth hat or the safari hat. Without a second's hesitation, Ella tosses the safari hat across the room and gently places a Queen Elizabeth hat on her head, saying with regal authority, there, now you have my choice. She stands as queenly fashion and poses for the camera. Good, says Maria, filled with expectation. Now that is settled and over with, you can all come into the kitchen and have a hearty breakfast before you leave. Thomas shakes his head and with a disgust says, breakfast? We had that at 4 a.m. when all of us were up and ready to go. Well, it's almost 10 now. Maria isn't bothered a bit. Okay, so you others will have a brunch. Ella will have a fine breakfast, just like Charlie said to do. Then, mimicking Charlie's voice, Maria comments, be sure they get a good breakfast before they leave, and maybe the last good food they have for a couple of days. She smiles and says, that was a quote from your Uncle Charlie. Maria, in her motherly fashion, turns and heads back to the kitchen. Bruce looks at each of the men and says, well, she's right. I could use a good last meal. Then he heads out toward the kitchen, following Maria. Ella, in a queenly style, follows right behind him with her hat gracefully balanced on her head. Paul follows her to the kitchen. Ella calls out with delight as she follows Maria, oh, Maria, what magical smells are coming from your kitchen. I could breathe those yummy aromas all day. Thomas is undaunted and stays in his seat. He turns to the fireplace, pondering. And that's where we have to stop. I'm looking at that timer, and by golly, our time is up. Well, just quickly, I want to share. I was a single parent for 16 years, and for all that time, my best helper was Good Lord, who guided me to the Proverbs, and this was my favorite. bring up a child in the way he shall go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. No, my, that has proved true for my sons. They're all good Christian boys. It just took them a while to get centered. So, for now, you all take care, and may the good Lord continue to bless you and yours. Yes, as you go through the day with a happy smile, kindness, and caring. Well, bye-bye. Love hugs from Grama Jean.